Welcome to Community Health Matters. I'm your host, Amy Marsalis. Our show today is focused on teens and keeping them safe, with guests to discuss the dangers of underage drinking, teen dating violence, and distracted driving. All of that coming up next on Community Health Matters. From the News Channel 5 network, this is Community Health Matters, sponsored by the United Health Foundation. Hi everyone, my first guest today, Phaedra Marriott-Olsen, has quite a powerful story and very personal story to share with us today about how her life really kind of changed directions from wanting to go into cosmetology, you told me, to now being very instrumental in getting the message out about underage drinking and drinking and driving. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
How did you get involved with MAD, if you'd want to share some of your story?
Well, on May 11th of 1996, my life forever changed. Some of my friends and I had been to a concert in Columbia, Missouri, and while we were there, we had a wonderful time. No alcohol, no drugs, just a group of young people going out to have a great night. As we were driving home, though, that's when our lives forever changed. There were 7 of us total when the drunk driver hit the first car in front of me. And then he continued to carry on to be able to hit my car on what they considered a nearly head-on collision. Now, from that crash, I had many injuries. Both of my ankles were broken, my left thigh bone was broken, my pelvic was broken on the right and left side, my right forearm was broken, but that was just the external injuries. Internally, many of my organs were also damaged, but the most catastrophic thing that happened to me, due to the impact of the crash, we hit so hard that it actually ripped the aorta heart valve away from my heart.
Oh my God.
And at the young age of 22, I was taken in for open heart surgery. Now, during that surgery, I was literally dying on that operating table, and the doctor did the only thing that he could do to be able to save my life, and he shut off the blood supply to my lower extremities. By doing that, it paralyzed me and left me to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair.
But out of this, you have done so much for other people by spreading this powerful message that you take to young people that maybe they wouldn't take the message as seriously from someone else. But when they hear it from you, you told me you take this message to young kids, primarily high school kids, around this time of year.
Exactly.
So share the message that you're sharing with them and tell us more about what the MAD organization does here in Tennessee.
Well, here with MAD, we actually have our power programs. We have a program called Power of Youth, and we have another program called Power of Parents, because we know that parents are the leading influence in these teens' lives. So if we can really take our world and be able to combine the two. So a lot of times I go into schools and, we have free programs, so that's a wonderful opportunity for schools to have us come in, especially during prom and graduation season, especially when you have parties that are going on and kids celebrating and possibly drinking. This is the best time to come in and let them know what can happen, life-altering situations that can happen in their lives if alcohol is involved.
Are the kids pretty receptive to your message? What is their initial reaction that you can gauge when you talk to them?
It kind of can affect so many of them differently. But I always start off and I ask them, how many of you have known someone who's been involved in a drunk driving crash? And you would be amazed to see the numbers of hands that can kind of raise in those auditoriums. It's surprising, and at that point I say, hold them up. Everyone look around. Do you see how alcohol can affect your life? By taking that type of a message and letting it kind of hit home about who do they know, who have they been impacted. And we spread that message that, taking away the keys to parents is not enough. That is definitely not enough, because about 32% of teens are drinking and driving, but that means 68% of teens that are dying because of alcohol are not behind the wheel of a car at all. They're dying for other situations. So we have to educate parents to be able to make sure that they are talking to those students and educating the students to make sure that they're taking the appropriate behavior.
Let's talk about some of the dangers. There are the obvious ones associated with underage drinking, being in an accident, being injured, dying. But tell us about some of the other things that can be life-changing as well.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that they need to realize is that I don't know how many times I've heard teens tell me that they've gotten in the car with someone who has been drinking simply because they wanted to make sure that they were okay, that they made it home all right. And those some often are the last words that those teens are ever speaking. It's just so sad. I don't think teens are well educated to think, don't get in the car with someone else who's been drinking. We often have to tell teens, too, that there's so many other high risk out there. I mean, there's falls, there's fires, there's, you can get into fights and cause all sorts of problems, and those can truly be life-altering.
Also, pregnancies.
Exactly.
Flunking school and being sexually assaulted. I read in some of the information here. Tell us about Power Talk 21 Day.
Power Talk 21 is held every April 21st, and it's the nation's day for parents to talk to their kids about alcohol. And again, we know that parents are the leading influence in these teens' lives. So if we can get a parent to talk to a student over and over again, it cannot be a one-time conversation. You have to make sure that you're having these conversations where you're not being judgmental, or a child can ask you about alcohol. Because here's the truth of the matter. If you're not talking to your teen about alcohol, who is? And what information are they giving them?
Isn't that the truth? You think, oh, kids aren't really listening, but you find otherwise.
We do.
If they get that message over and over, how do they start the conversation?
Well, sometimes I think it can be a matter of saying, do you know anyone that drinks? Do you have friends that go out and drink? And you have to be, as a parent, you have to be willing to accept what their student is going to be able to say to you, and you have to find the appropriate time. You know what it's like if you have teenagers, you can't talk to them when they're hungry, and you can't talk to them as they're getting ready to go out for ball practice. So I used to always think the best time is to talk to them when you have them in the car, that way they're trapped and they can't get out.
Yes.
But that seems to be a great time to have those conversations and just have it kind of casual, but at the same point, let them understand that there are consequences for their actions, and that you have ground rules and you have standard rules. And often I'm even told from other parents that they will say, well, I'm going to provide alcohol to my child to teach them how to drink. But research shows that the more that a child drinks in the home, the more likely they are to drink even more amounts outside of the home.
Interesting. All right. Where can people get more information as we wind this up?
When it comes to MAD, you can find us on our website, www.mad.org. And feel free to go on there. You can get our power workbooks completely free of charge and request them or download them online. All
right. Phaedra, thank you for really elevating this conversation in Tennessee.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You're making a huge difference in people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back with more after this.